someone who's been a founding member of DDG, who is an absolute legend in my mind. Michael is a commercial lawyer focusing on estate planning. He focuses on giving, he lectures, he writes books, he does everything in his life with that spirit of generosity.
I'm a private client lawyer. I'm a third generation private client lawyer. So we work across individuals up to families worth $300 to $500 million. The thing is that people say to me, Michael, who do you specialise in? I say, families. The thing, simple as that. When you've been in business for 3 generations, you know, my firm goes back to 1890 in Aldridge. You have to take families as they fall. Well, what covers private client services? Active business interests, wealth management, the private personal work for clients, social and community contribution. This is the normal ambit of private client services. Within your business GP, we're looking at the link between that top issue, which is the business, and everything below the line, the personal and family interests around wealth management, private affairs, and social and community contribution. Family provision, fights over wills and deceased estates, is 3/4 of all the new cases that are filed in the Supreme Court.
Wow.
It's a compulsory mediation jurisdiction. The social value of helping families manage conflict and decision making is enormous. So in caring for clients, in keeping clients on a stable course in terms of their life and their direction, you are lowering cost for the client, increasing cordiality, and promoting the ability for business and families to sustain themselves. What am I in this for? The ability to price generated value around the client. Do that, and you're going to have an advantage in your business that Watson can't take away. So what are we really doing when we're collaborating with the client? We recognize we're working from the client's worldview backwards. So this is a summary of what are the sea of things around the client we need to be able to recognise. Family philosophy, owner, business strategy issues, governance and organisation, continuity planning. We are there to help clients manage their worldview. Now, you look at all of those things, and which one, is there any profession on there that can, any profession you can think about that can cover all those bases on their own?
There's a couple that think they can.
QED, that's why we have to collaborate if we want to produce a consistent high-value result around the client. So this worldview has got to be replicated in terms of the idea of what do professionals need to do to serve the client. So what we do need to do is recognise that relational-based business, this integrated, client-led, client-focused service, it needs its own business model. If you don't remain engaged to your life and be prepared to renew yourself and your vision, you will not endure. That's a message we need to take back into family thinking generally. Accounting, tax and financial insights, financial services, wealth preservation and transfer, business property and estates law, that's what we do. But we're also accumulating an interesting range of law firms that are around us saying, hey, I think we can help too. So this idea of collaborative practice becomes something that starts to glue people together around the needs of clients. Corporatisation in professional services firms leach out that culture of caring. That's why this is the work of boutique legal practices. Because somewhere between 30 to 50 in terms of a manpower size, all of a sudden corporatised management and matrix management takes hold. And you start to lose that ability to personalise a service. So we're looking to build out a series of these kinds of businesses of up to that size. So systems thinking was an absolute foundation in starting to pick up the patterns of how we were going to integrate thinking, values, process and deliverables. In building up the organisation, we've recognised 5 core competencies that we need to integrate to start to build that collective conversation with the client. Business and stakeholder consulting, that is where the IMC connection comes in. Governance, risk and compliance. So much family wealth now is held in companies and trusts outside personal ownership. Maintaining the linkage between the structures, the family and wealth operations is something that families need to learn to invest in if they want to keep that system stable. Being part of a multi-capability team, we are able to draw in experience and build personal mastery more substantially than if we're just ploughing our own furrow. But ultimately, when you're working at that high professional and cognitive level, you also then have the opportunity in dealing with the most complex cases to build new knowledge, to build new practice, and those are the people that we want to draw into this collaboration group.
Okay.
To collaborate, you first need to know who you are in terms of your identity, capacity, capability. You need to have a very clear idea of what do I do, and the challenge for us, where do we fit? How do we fit? If we don't get these 3 things in balance, we can't collaborate effectively. Know, like and trust is an attribute on fit. If we don't know, like and trust someone, how can we fit? So this conversation around fit is essential to build out a collaborative culture, be it within a business or between businesses. Within the multi-capability group, we've taken a decision that we were going to standardise a common work environment around Business Propel, which is a web platform that's been created by the New South Wales Business Chamber for the purpose of organising that common information around the business client that all advisors in a team can share. But you've got to start somewhere, and using web services as a smart way of making sure that allied professionals are working off a single information model of the client means that everyone can be aware of changed information over time. Everyone's working off the same picture. Everyone's using the same information to produce the relevant services they are delivering. Experience to date, smoother operations between the advisors, more cost-effective result for the client. We've got to create a work environment across these organisations that can focus on a single project but unify the input from the contributing firms. That's why we've actually learned an extraordinary amount out of Engineers Australia and the Institute of Management Consultants, because they do this every day of the week in organising complex engineering projects. The opportunity we have is to actually bring the learning from that side of the professions over into the professional contributors that we've outlined. But there's a lot of learning, and there are some really unique ways to do this kind of operations really well. That's why the IMC BBG Collaborative Consulting Group. Appreciative inquiry, quite frankly, is a fundamental mental model to making this kind of business model work. So from an HR point of view, when you're looking to employ people, it's an important issue for any HR professional is, okay, how do we start to recognise these kind of attributes in how we select staff? The other challenge that we have, and it's an ongoing issue for us, is how do we build learning amongst the team? So that how do we translate that idea of a learning organisation into the day-to-day processes of operating this business? Quite frankly, the biggest challenge we have is getting people to give each other time. If you're going to build a next generation business, you've got to make a decision. How much of your productive time per day are you prepared to put into a new method of work, a new way of being, a new flow player? If you don't give it enough, if you don't give the time and resources, you will never ever achieve the result, irrespective of what you aspire to. Our professional value is helping clients simplify their life and empowering clients to do things they can't otherwise do for themselves. Now, let's have that pricing discussion. What's that worth to a client? The concluding point that I want to make is that as a business model, we need to change our thinking about what are we pricing. We need to think about, if we are going to help the client achieve the objectives, how do we price that? We've got to price the generated value for the client, not just the nominated price of a product or service we vend. We need to move from a vendor mentality to a solution mentality. Successful collaboration within the business model needs an accounting and pricing model that's focused on generated value. Without that, you'll miss the pricing opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.